Okay, it says preparing to go live stream. Okay, we'll wait 2 minutes. Oh, you could see my entire thing. How do you do that? Hang on. Hang on. Sorry. Okay. So we're live on YouTube. Okay. Let me just share this. Okay. Let's see how many people are actually watching us on YouTube.
There's 3.
There are 3. Is that us?
That's you.
That's
You and me.
okay. Okay, so I said happening right now, join us on YouTube and win the raffle. Okay, so
I'll also stream it on my phone next to me so I can see.
Okay.
If it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop sharing, and I'm gonna start. Okay, I'm gonna start right now. Hello, hello. Hi mga kasokal. So tonight we have our third virtual class. So it's our SoCal Pinoy's virtual class. And tonight we have Frances Kate Abalos from the county of Riverside. And she will be talking about Filipinos and Fil-Ams and learning about our children's bicultural identities. Frances Kate Abalos joins us today to talk about our new generation's bicultural identities and helping us understand the Filipino and Fil-Am distinctiveness. She obtained her psychology degree from UC Riverside, and she seeks to destigmatize discussions of mental health of families and individuals in Filipino and Asian and Pacific Islander cultures. She lives in San Bernardino and enjoys dancing hip hop during her spare time. Let's all welcome Frances Kate Abalos. Hi, Frances.
Hi, Mick. Thank you for that introduction. So, as Mick said, hi everybody. My name is Frances Abalos, and I currently work for APCTC, which stands for Asian Pacific Counseling and Treatment Centers. And right now, my occupation is parent family specialist and mental health promoter. I do currently reside in Redlands, California. And prior to the occupation that I have right now, I used to work for California Psych Care, formerly known as Autism Response Team, as a behavior interventionist for kids with autism. So I'm very passionate about mental health, and right now my goal, as Nick said, is to destigmatize these topics in API culture, as well as to destigmatize the concept of biculturality and open up the minds of API parents and grandparents and families on the wonderful differences between Western and Eastern cultures, right? So us and American culture, and how we can adapt to both to enrich our family relationships. After all, there's always room for improvement and always room for love and care when it comes to ourselves and our families. So thank you to all who's tuned in right now. I do want to mention that there is a raffle that there's a gift that I'll be raffling out, gift cards. So please stick around. The rules are, please stay tuned in for the remainder of the workshop. It's only gonna last about 30 minutes, 30 or so minutes. And then at the end, comment your first and last name on the YouTube comment section of this live video, or if you can't comment on the YouTube comment section, please comment on the Facebook post regarding the YouTube live link that Mick posted out. So comment your first and last name and do it at the end of the video. I will remind everybody at the end. Okay, so without further ado, let's get started. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's share screen. Okay, so I hope you guys can see all of that. Okay, so today's topic is biculturality, parents and children. So, as a little intro, do you guys know, I'm pretty sure, I feel like all Filipinos know who Jokoy is, right?
Of course.
He's our beloved, yeah, of course.
Yeah,
He's our
Joseph.
beloved, yes,
Joseph.
Joseph.
Except
Yes. So I always use him as an example because he is the perfect example of biculturality. He's a perfect example of biculturality. Why? Because in a lot of his shows, in a lot of his jokes, he always references his life as a Filipino American, right? And we all laugh at it because we all can relate to it, right? We all laugh at the way his mom screams at him, like, "Hoy, Joseph!" Right? And that's why I love to use him as an example because he really highlights the differences between Filipino and American culture, but he also highlights the blend, the wonderful blend of Filipino and American culture, right? He is Fil-Am, right? So here I am presenting to you guys today about biculturality. And actually, I'm more representing the children's side too. So you get to hear this presentation based on what your children might think, right? So let's continue. So I'm going to show just a portion of this video. Hopefully you guys can hear. I'm thinking you guys would be able to hear, but I'm just going to show a portion of this video. It's about a game called Barnga, right? Right there on the title, it says it's a card game for intercultural trainings. So that's all I'm going to leave you with for now. As we watch it, I want you to recognize the rules of the game, how it's played, and what are the struggles that the players face, as well as why might they be facing these types of struggles, okay?
Let's play Barnga! Barnga, a card game for intercultural trainings. What is Barnga? Barnga is a fun card game for intercultural trainings to experience first-hand intercultural contact in a playful way. It simulates the cultural variety in human behaviour. The game is easy to learn and all participants get involved. The principal aim is to train and improve the intercultural competence of the players. How does it work? Let's have a look. The participants are invited to play a card game tournament. To play this tournament, at least 9 people are needed. They all sit at different tables, while each table should have the same number of players. The trainer hands out the rules. After the rules are read and understood, the trainer takes them away. The basic condition for playing Barnga is that the participants aren't allowed to use oral communication. Instead, they can communicate by drawings on a piece of paper and by gestures. The first round takes 5 minutes. The winner will be the one with the most tricks and the loser the one with the least tricks. After the 5 minutes, the winner goes to the left and the loser to the right table, and the next round starts. What is special about Barnga? Comparable to a cultural shock, the participants come together in a casual atmosphere, as everything seems to be familiar. But already in the following rounds, the relaxed atmosphere from the first round changes. Confusion arises because the new teammates don't play by the same rules as learned in the round before. As everybody plays by his own rules, misunderstandings occur because there's no shared mental model. There's a lot of scribbling on the papers going on, as the players try to figure out what's going wrong. As you can see, the players try to make themselves clear by strong mimics and a lot of gestures during the interaction with their teammates. Additionally, they feel handicapped because of the verbal communication ban. This causes multiple emotions. Participants start to get irritated. You can see incomprehension and confusion. A few players might be frustrated as they can't figure out what is going on. The participants try to explain their own rules to each other, which can lead to further misunderstandings. All in all, a sense of uncertainty is observable and misunderstandings sum up. This tension in the teams can be expressed by nervous laughter and signs of disapproval. This can lead to refusal, but also to the development of new solution strategies. What do the participants say? To gain the most out of the game, there has to be a reflection round after every intercultural simulation, so that the participants can reflect on understanding each other's reactions. This dialogue gives a better insight into the past interactions. The goal is to transfer the participants' experience to intercultural situations in everyday life. Let's have a look at what our group talked about after the game. One thing is very clear: everybody is confused.
It just was so confusing for me. I just didn't get this special rule.
We had the same rules. I
don't think so.
Yeah, almost. And you
Almost,
had
yeah.
totally different rules.
Yeah.
And has to adapt to new social dynamics.
Because I was one of those always being in the minority. I always tried to bring my rules to the other tables, but no chance.
Yeah.
And then I felt like, oh, come on, guys.
Which results in irritation.
They just took the cards, I just won. And I thought, no, you cannot take those cards without just before we should have been explaining what's the rule. So okay, obviously now there was like some kind of conflict with the rules, so there was, and they just took my cards and there was no space for like thinking about a new rule.
I was not knowing what to do now. I was feeling strange and
Okay. So let's pause there. All right. So, I meant to go to my next slide. So I hope that everybody was able to watch that. In case there were any like lagging or anything, I'll briefly summarize what happened in the video. So this group of people were playing this game called Barnga, and the rules of the game was they were split off into subsections in different tables, and then the way they played was the rules given to them were very vague. Okay, and the reason why they were vague is so that at each table, um, these people could come up with their own rules and their own way to play the game. Okay, now things start changing when people start to rearrange and visit and shuffle and go to other tables. Okay, the reason why things start getting chaotic is because they go to a different table and they realize that the rules that they made up at the table that they originated from was not the same as the rules that are in the new table that they are in. Okay, so the reason why I showed this particular game is because this game simulates a cross-cultural encounter, and there's two challenges. As I said before, the first challenge is that the rules start to become different for everybody. Okay, once you leave the table that you originated from and go to another one, you find that the rules are a little bit different. Okay, which brings us to the next challenge, which is how can you effectively communicate with the other people from other tables and arrive at a common rule that you guys can both agree on. Okay, and there's a special limitation of this game, a special rule. And that rule is that you cannot speak. When people play this game, they are not allowed to speak. And the reason why is because not speaking simulates the language barriers that people often have when they have cross-cultural encounters, right? For example, new immigrants that come to America, for example, maybe they don't speak a lot of English. They will encounter that barrier of the language barrier, right? And so, how can you still arrive at a common understanding when you lack the basic communication of language, right? It is possible. It is possible to establish that communication. It is possible to have affective understanding, right? And to use your experiences to reach understanding so that you guys can come to an agreement and play still by your own rules, but also compromising and not questioning yourself or other people's abilities. Okay, so the reason why we look at this type of cross-cultural encounter is so that we can familiarize ourselves with the things that our children might come across, right? Now, it's nothing new for us as parents, because we know that this is something that we'll have to face, right? We know that this is something that we will have to face when we move to a new country, and then we find other job opportunities here, as a lot of Filipinos do. We find other job opportunities here. um, we know that we will encounter other people from other ethnicities, very diverse settings, and all that. But sometimes our children may not be aware, right? May not be aware. And I can speak from experience because I migrated here with my parents at a very young age, at 6 years old. And the first thing that I asked my mom when we were driving to our new home was, is there a Big R here? Now, for you Filipinos that know what Big R is, it's a Robinson's a mall in the Philippines. And I did not know that that was only for the Philippines, right? So that further, uh, supports the what I was just talking about, which is cross-cultural encounters happen, especially in our children's lives, especially because they'll be going to school here and they will meet more diverse people too, and they have their own experiences that are a bit different from what we experience. Okay, And that brings us to ethnic identity development. Furthermore, what are the stages of ethnic identity development that we can see with our kids up to when they reach adulthood? Okay, and we'll talk about how they might choose ethnic identity development, their own ethnic identity, as well as take a look at John Barry's study of the 4 results of ethnic identity development. Okay, so here are some stages of the ethnic identity development. Okay, now it's everybody is unique. Everybody is unique, but you might see some of this behavior in your children. Okay, these are just some commonalities that people see, right? So between 3 to 4 years old, children are able to identify people of the same race, right? So they know, oh, that person is Filipino, like me, right? They are not yet able to identify people of other races. They don't know yet, okay? Excuse me. Um, Between 4 to 7 years old, as they grow older, they're now able to identify people of other races. However, they're not aware of permanent characteristics. To give you an example, um, let's say I was a 7-year-old, right? Between 6, 7, right? I'm able to identify that, oh, that man right there is Caucasian, right? He is Caucasian. However, if you tell that man to wear barong Tagalog, right? Barong Tagalog, which is like a traditional Filipino clothing that we have, right? Very formal. Me at 6 years old, 7 years old, I would look at them and say, actually, he's Filipino. Okay, actually, he's Filipino because I'm not yet aware of permanent characteristics. Okay, but as I grow older, 7 and up, I start to realize that race cannot be altered. And even if you put a Caucasian man in a Barong Tagalog, I will still realize and recognize that he's Caucasian, right? And during this time in my childhood, I'll follow whatever racial identification that my parents have, right? So if my parents say that we're Filipino, I'm Filipino, right? And then once kids reach adolescence, that's when they start to consciously choose their own ethnic identity, and they use their surroundings, they use their experiences to utilize multiple perspectives, right? And what I mean by that is children who maybe grew up here, were born here, right? At 7 years old, they identify as Filipino, but then, as they start going into middle school, they realize that a lot of their own classmates identify as Filipino American. So then they might start to consciously choose Filipino American instead because they start to realize, I was born here, so that makes me Filipino American. Or maybe they might choose American. Okay, it depends on what their perspectives are and whatever ethnic identity they start to consciously choose regarding the experiences that they have. Okay. Now, when they do start choosing their ethnic identity, they ask these 5 questions. Number 1, who is the most important to me? Right. And the thing is, these questions, the answers to these questions, they do fluctuate and they do change at each stage of their life, right? So number 1, who is the most important to me? Is it my parents? Is it my siblings? Is it my friends? Is it my teachers? Okay. And whose acceptance and validation do I most desire? Is it my peers, right? Is it my family, right? And how do those people identify? How do those people identify, and should I identify myself the same way? If I do, will it benefit me to identify myself the same way? Okay. Now, when identity formation or ethnic identity starts forming, excuse me, there can be 4 results, right? Because, we are Asians living here in America. So, there can be 4 results regarding your kids, right? Regarding what type of identification they might have for themselves. They might have integration, biculturality, which is a high Asian identification and a high American identification. or they might assimilate, which is they have more of a high American identification but a low Asian identification. Excuse me, the tongue twister. They might separate, which is a low American identification but a high Asian, excuse me, identification. And they might marginalize, which is both low Asian and American identifications. Now, what are the differences? So let's take a look at assimilation. Top left quadrant, right? So if your child assimilates, they might reject more of the Asian, our traditional Filipino cultures, and they might like the American culture that we live in right now. On the flip side, they might separate, bottom right quadrant, and they completely reject the American culture that we're in right now, but completely love the Filipino culture that we have, right? Now you get the best of both worlds when your children has a sense of biculturality and integrates, which is they see the value in both American and Asian cultures, and they adapt to that. Okay. Now, on the flip side, unfortunately, some kids feel marginalized. They reject Asian culture and they reject American culture. Now, the reason why there's four outcomes, right, um, is because it kind of makes you wonder which one is the best outcome, right? And for a lot of people, they might say integration, right? But truth is, it really depends on the situation. The best thing is for your kids to be flexible. And what I mean by that is, yes, integration is great. Biculturality is great because your kids will be able to see the value in both cultures. However, there are some instances where it would benefit them more to identify more Asian rather than American. For example, you have a party with all of your relatives, right? Because, for example, Manny Pacquiao is fighting, right? We love getting together for that. So Manny Pacquiao is fighting, and everyone is gathered at the house. Okay. In this situation, it would benefit your children to identify more Filipino rather than American. It would benefit them more to separate. Okay. Because they would go into this family party, and what's something that we all want our children to do? It's mano po, right? We want our children to mano po, right? And practice Filipino culture when we're with our families, right? On the flip side, if our children are at school, it might benefit them more to assimilate because they are surrounded with other classmates of other ethnicities. It's a very diverse setting. So it might benefit them more to assimilate, right? And there are also instances where marginalization might benefit them too. The thing is, the thing to remember is that it's not just integration that's the best outcome, it's the ability to be flexible. Okay. Now, what can influence our children's ethnic identity development? Remember, I told you that our kids will ask certain questions before they identify themselves a certain way, and there's four outcomes when they do start choosing their ethnic identity, right? Now, what can influence this development are people with whom they are most intimate. Right. So that includes us as parents, but that also includes teachers, peers, and other people that are in their circle, other people that they come across with. Okay. Now, the thing is, sometimes for us parents, right? Sometimes for us parents, it's kind of hard to imagine that at some point in our children's lives, we're not the most important. Okay, because they do start meeting more people, and they do start having close friends, close relationships, and those people are important to them too. And that's okay. We still do have influence on our children. And at times, we do have to remember that it's okay for them to find their own way and choose their own ethnic identity development that will help them in whatever life that they want to have, right? Now, how can we assist our children into being successful and competent ethnic Americans? Because the reason why we're asking this question is because, as I said before, us parents, we still influence our children no matter what stage of life that they're in, whether they are very young or they are growing up and going to college, okay? But how can we assist them into being competent ethnic Americans? Well, we also have to understand the differences between ethnic and majority American cultures, because this is our home too, right? This is our home too, and we have to show our children that we also know these differences, and when we know these differences, we're also able to participate in their world, right? We're also able to interact with who they interact with, and because we're able to show them that we're able to interact with the same people that they interact with, we then serve as a model of a competent ethnic American in their eyes. And then they're likely to follow in our footsteps too. And that'll further help them to survive in the world we live in. Yeah? So, that pretty much concludes the presentation for today, but I do want to show you guys this one last video before we do any announcements and closings and raffle time. Okay. Excuse me if it lags. I'll make sure to post all the links to the videos in the Facebook group.
And that's, oh God, I didn't think I was gonna cry.
Both of them left their families and knew no one and came to this foreign country.
Yeah, my mom moved to America and didn't get to see her family or her siblings for almost 20, 30 years. Didn't get to see her mom's funeral, didn't get to see her siblings grow up with their families because she was living in America.
My mom used to come to my elementary school every year with traditional dress and a Quran and a prayer rug to like teach the kids about Eid. One year after she came, a lot of kids made fun of sort of the way she dressed and what she was doing and what she was talking about. And I was really angry at her. And I told her like never to come back again because I was really, really embarrassed. And she listened, but I think she was really hurt.
I remember when I went to India in 2008 with my mom for a wedding, she said that was the first time she had ever visited the Taj Mahal, even though she grew up in India. And the reason was that she just spent her life working for us.
My dad, before he died, he was looking for all these jobs of things that he didn't love to do. And he loved playing music, but he knew that he had to make a little more money.
They took odd jobs. My dad worked at a restaurant, he cut grass. I remember stories that they used to look for aluminum cans, recycle from the neighborhood.
When I was in kindergarten, I remember that my mom, she sat me down and asked me, would you like it if I stayed home more so I could hang out with you? And I said yes. And so she gave up her career as a computer engineer to become a full-time mom.
My mom was encouraged to be a stay-at-home mom in her older years. She felt really isolated because it contributed to her not being able to learn English and make friends outside of the family circle.
I used to cry every time that my mom would drop me off. There's like a video of me at daycare and I was like 3 years old and I ran after her and they had to go get me. And my mom would cry too because she didn't want to leave me, but she had to work.
Even to this day, my parents are still struggling like financially. When I got into college, I got into UCLA and USC, UCLA being a public school, which was a lot cheaper than USC, a private school. And my dad just said, go wherever you want and we'll figure it out. My parents had to take out a lot of loans and stuff. I didn't get any scholarships or anything. We're still paying those off right now. Yeah.
Oh man, okay.
Oh, hi Mom and Dad.
Mom, Dad.
Mom?
Thank you for all the little things that you did that I didn't know about.
Especially as a single mom, raising us all by yourself.
And even to this day, working 6 days a week still.
I know I don't always say it, but I really appreciate everything you've done for me.
I'm sorry for the way I acted as a kid because I'm not ashamed of you. I'm really proud of you. And I'm really proud of who you are. And I'm really sorry that I used to pretend that I was white. I'm really sorry that I used to pretend that I wasn't Muslim, and
Thank you for everything. You did more than I ever deserved. Sorry.
I love you.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah, thank you.
All of the sacrifices they made, by the time I came along and like was aware of it, it's almost like they had already done all the groundwork so that I thought my life was easy.
Okay, so the reason why I show that video is to illustrate that, you know, these are Asian American children. These are Asian American children. And it's to show parents that, you know, our children appreciate more than we might think. They appreciate more than we might think. Okay. And that's also my pitch to the parents out there watching right now to learn more in our free kite class. So this is my time right now to promote to you guys about the work that I do. So I'll tell you guys a little bit about what kite means and give you guys my contact information. Okay, but kite stands for Keeping Intergenerational Ties in Ethnic Families. So I'm going to have a new cycle of classes coming up soon. It starts next Saturday. And I'll give you guys more information if you guys want it. But it's for parents residing in, working in, or involved in any way in Riverside County. Okay, so if that's you, please sign up. It is free, and not only is it free, but you receive a gift card and a certificate for completion. Yes, I love gift cards, and I know I'm gonna give you guys, I'm gonna give a couple of you guys gift cards after this, right? So what this kite class is about is an in-depth, culturally competent educational program developed by Dr. Yuen Ying from Berkeley on nurturing intergenerational and intercultural relationships between you and your Asian American children. Okay, so in this course, I don't know if I mentioned this yet, but it is once a week. It's going to be 8 classes and 2 hours each class, okay? But in this class, you'll become more in touch with your traditional roots while still maintaining and learning about American culture. And you'll find the balance that fits your family, and we'll keep track of your own journey together. Even though this is a class for a bunch of parents, we'll keep track of your own journey together, okay? Now, not only do I offer, does APCTC, my company, not only offer kite, we also have a Kapwa Kabataan Youth Volunteer Internship Program for your teens, okay? So what this is, you know, in conjunction with the parent class, your kids, if they're between ages 13 all the way up to 30, can join our youth volunteer program. So in this program, they intern for us, and we will train them on Filipino culture, get more in touch with Filipino culture, as well as train them on mental health topics. The goal overall is to destigmatize mental health and uplift our youth, right? And mobilize our youth to be more involved in the Filipino community in the Inland Empire, okay? Because the goal is to uplift our youth volunteer, this program will immerse them in the Filipino community in Riverside County. There is a growing number of Filipinos in Riverside County, right? And not only will we train them on Filipino culture and mental health topics too, we'll also assign them their own project, right? Their own project that will help them be more involved in their Filipino culture. More information is on the flyer that's on here. And yes, they do have a chance to win a $250 scholarship. Okay, we have prizes at the end of each cohort. Okay, and if that sounds like something that you might be interested in enrolling your kids in, please contact my coworker Nicole. Her contact information is up there. Her number is 951-203-9514, and her email address is nicoledumagindin@apctc.org. And you can register right now using that link, tinyurl.com/kapwa youth2020. Okay. You can also contact me as well. My contact information will be given to you guys in this next slide. So this is more information regarding our kite class. Now on this flyer, it says the kite class begins week of September 13th, but it'll actually begin next week, like week of September 20th. It starts on the day or Saturday of next week. Okay, so the link to register is on here. I'll give you guys the link in the Facebook group too if you're interested. And once again, they do apply to Riverside County residents or Riverside County workers slash just Riverside County involved community members, right? Now, if it so happens that you're in this kite class and you also enroll your young adult in our Kapwa Kabataan internship program, your child gets extra credit volunteer hours for every class slash workshop that you attend. Okay. Yeah, because in our Kapwa Kabataan youth volunteer internship program, we do sign off on volunteer hours for your kids, right? So yes, so if you're interested, please do contact me. My contact information is right there. But let me get back to that because next week we have a workshop, a community mental health promotion workshop next Thursday, September 24th. It's facilitated by the APCTC CMHP promoters. In one of the classes later on in the near future, you guys will meet Nicole Dumagindin. She's my coworker, and she and I will be facilitating this workshop. It'll be on Zoom on the topic of suicide prevention. And here I go again, but we will give gift cards for those who attend and complete the survey. Now, this workshop, you guys, free for all. If you want to attend, even though you're not in Riverside County, that's totally fine. Okay. Now, lastly, this is my contact information. If you want to take a picture, or if you want to contact me, I am in the SoCal Pinoys group. My name is Frances Kate. You can find me there. But my first and last name is Frances Abalos. Okay. With that being said, I think we can begin the raffle now, right? So I'll go ahead and share a different screen. 1 second, guys. Okay, so I'll stop sharing, but before we get into this raffle, let's see. JV and Mick, would you like me to start the raffle or would you guys like me to answer some questions for now?
There's a question from Leah Beck. Yeah.
Oh, sure, yes. Okay, here, let's see it. Okay. Tita Leia, hi! It's great to see you. So she asked, at which stage is best to have the kids identify their ethnicity? So the stages that I showed you guys, those happen in a natural order, right? So we can start talking to kids about their ethnic identity no matter what age they are. But in the ages that I showed you, right? For example, 3 to 4 years old, they start identifying who's like them, right? And then as they grow older, 7 and between 4 to 7 years old, they start to identify who is not like them. Those happen naturally. Whether or not we start to talk to them about who they are, who we are as a family, right? And my suggestion is it's always a good thing. Never a bad thing to let children know, like, hey, we are Filipino. We're Asian. That's why we kind of look a little bit different from all your classmates, right? Never a bad thing to bring that up. Okay, but as far as their own ethnic identification, that happens in a natural order as they start to go to school more, right, and get to know more kids of different ethnicities. Yeah, so there's no best stage to answer. There's no best stage. Um, the best thing to do is let things unfold and still let them know that we are Filipino. That's at least how your parents identify, and then support them in the identification that they might think of themselves. Yeah.
So yesterday I
Do we?
asked some questions from our members, and I got several really good questions for you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
One of them is from Rose. So she has little kids still, and the question is, how do you deal with the way children ask or answer back to elders or their parents?
So, oh my gosh, I know that's a struggle for a lot of parents, right? When our kids start talking back, how do we deal with it? And I know it's definitely a cultural thing, right? At least from what I've experienced, something that my parents pointed out to me too. In a lot of Asian cultures and a lot of Filipino cultures, it's very disrespectful for us to talk back. Then we notice a lot of kids here in America, they like talking back. And that's something that my family has always been confused with. It's something that we've always been like, why do they do that? Why do they do that? And I understand why that might be a struggle for some parents right now, right? And how can we resolve it? So with that, with those types of behaviors, because parents will see behaviors from their kids that they might not like, and they might not want anymore for their kids to do. That's something that they could look into structuring and reinforcement, right? It is a different topic since we're on the topic of biculturality, but this concept of structuring and reinforcement is covered in the kite class. So if parents do want to know more, they could join the kite class. But to give a brief overview of what structuring and reinforcement is, it's basically a form of it's a form of like quote unquote reward system slash training system, education system on what type of behaviors we like from our kids and how to encourage that. That's what structuring and reinforcement is. And if paired well with effective rules, limits, and consequences, which is another topic covered in our class, if paired well with that, it can be very effective in promoting the behaviors that we want our kids to learn, whether that's not talking back and being respectful, and even being eager to learn Tagalog, right? Because I know some parents, they really want their kids to learn our origin language, right? Yes.
Okay, I have another question. It says, this is from Connie Cruz from our group. And it says, regardless of our style of discipline, how have we cultivated love for our heritage within our lineage? How have we improved critical thinking and love for our people?
So I take it that she's asking like how can they do that? And I want to say that the best thing to do is model it yourselves too. Model it yourselves too. So what I notice with a lot of families whose children are born here, we're very loving people, especially towards our children as Filipinos, right? So sometimes we bend over backwards for our children. Okay, sometimes we bend over backwards for our children, and that's totally okay. But sometimes we get caught up in trying to provide so much for our children that we forget to model that we also love ourselves, love our heritage too. And when we start to model to our children, this is us as Filipinos. We love this heritage. And it would mean a lot to me if you were interested in this too. Something as simple as that. I know it sounds cheesy, but it actually works wonders. It works better than a lot of people might think. Yeah, I think that would be the best strategy.
And I think that's all the time we have for questions. And do you want to go ahead and start your raffle?
Yes, okay. So JB has provided me with the names. So I'll go ahead and let's see. Give me 1 second. Okay, so I'll share this screen so you guys can see the raffle. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna type the names. Okay, so we have
Jay Shing,
Justin. Yes, perfect. Then we have
Oliver So.
So.
We have Nicole Dumagindin.
Perfect.
Leah Beck.
Yes, perfect.
Len Underwood.
We have Len. Okay. Thank you for streaming in, guys. So now, out of these 5 people, I will draw one of you guys to win a $10 Starbucks gift card. Okay, here we go. So it's Nicole. It's Nicole. Unfortunately, I can't get her because she's my course. So I'm gonna do it again.
I had
I'm
a
gonna do it
feeling
again.
that would
Sorry,
happen.
Nicole. I know. Let's do it again. Okay, there we go. Tita Leia. Okay.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Tita Leia. And that concludes our presentation for today. Thank you, Mick. Thank you, JB, for having me. And thank you for everyone who tuned in.
Yes, and I do have some reminders for everyone. And tomorrow, don't forget, we have JV, one of our admins. He has a virtual class. And JV, do you want to talk about your virtual class for a little bit?
Sure. So guys, mga kasokas, tomorrow, tune in at, is it 10 a.m. or 10:30?
10 a.m.?
Okay, it's 10 a.m. Okay, so tune in at 10 a.m. I'm gonna be sharing some tips about how to maximize your ads on So-Called Pinoys. It's great for small business owners and does anyone wanted to learn about branding and advertising. So see you tomorrow.
Okay, great. So yeah, don't forget tomorrow, our SoCal Pinoy's virtual class. And right after this class at 9 o'clock is our SoCal Pinoy's Kantahan. So that's our karaoke nights. And we have a couple of resident DJs who are handling that for us. So that's Arvin Pasamba and Edwin Geronimo. He's DJ Edge. So they were kind enough to volunteer to take care of that for us. So we'll see you at 9 o'clock. And have a good evening, everyone. See you at 9. Bye.
Bye.